Okay, now I'm going to teach you about leadership in Congress. And I know what you're thinking, these are fairly unjustly elected elite white old men. Like, obviously they're all leaders, right? No. There's other leadership positions that are even higher. The most important leader in the House is the Speaker of the House. And it's supposed to be chosen by everyone to be fair and stuff, but really it's chosen by the majority party. There's two major political parties in the United States, in case you didn't know, Republicans and Democrats, and majority means there's more one than the other. Yay! Okay, the Speaker of the House has a whole bunch of powers. It kind of changes throughout the years how powerful the Speaker is. Sometimes they're less powerful, sometimes they're more powerful, but they do have a lot of power and influence. They recognize members who wish to speak, so I guess if the Speaker is feeling bitchy, they could say, no, you don't get to talk. They rule on questions of parliamentary procedure. They appoint members to select and conference committees, and I will explain those later. They direct business on the floor. They exercise political and behind-the-scenes influence. They appoint members of the committees who appoint members to standing committees. So they appoint the people who appoint people. They exercise substantial control over which bills get assigned to which committee, and they appoint the party's legislative leaders. I'm going to talk about committees later, but committees are really the most important part of Congress. So the fact that the Speaker controls most of those appointments and which bills go to which committees, that's a pretty big deal. There's also majority and minority leaders in both houses, and majority party, majority leader, minority party, minority leader. It has nothing to do with race. It just has to do with which party has more representatives in that body. And normally the House and the Senate have the same majority party. Like, it's pretty common in government today for the president to be a different political party than Congress, but the two bodies of Congress are usually the same political party. Usually, but not always. In the Senate, also, there's a president of the Senate, which is a little known and pretty much useless power of the vice president of the United States. But since obviously the vice president can't be there every day, there is a president pro tempore who is appointed to kind of serve for him. But it's not really that important of a position. More important to know are the majority and the minority leaders. There's no speaker for the Senate. Another funny little group of people are the party whips, which kind of serve as go-betweens between the majority and minority leaders and the rest of that house. Okay, the process by which a bill becomes a law is very closely tied in with committees. Committees is how Congress functions, basically. There's committees and subcommittees, and that's where all the work is done. That's where bills are written and edited and voted on and all that stuff. There are four major types of committees that you need to know about. A standing committee is just a committee that's always there. It's for an issue that doesn't go away, that's always important. So the committee's always there, like the budget committee. We always need a budget, so we always need a committee to figure out the budget. A select committee, on the other hand, is a committee formed for a specific issue that's only in place for a select period of time. Get it? Oh. Things like Watergate. Watergate doesn't always happen. You don't need a standing Watergate committee. You might need a standing scandal committee, but you know what? Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Joint committees, it's basically a select committee, but whereas select committees are either in the House or the Senate, a joint committee has members from both working together in harmony. Isn't that precious? Conference committees are formed when a piece of legislation on the same issue is initiated in the House and in the Senate. Obviously, you can't pass two laws on the same thing that contradict each other, so a conference committee is formed to kind of work out the differences. Once again, harmony. More than 11,000 bills are introduced for every 2-year cycle of Congress. That's a lot of bills, and I know, obviously, we don't have 11,000 new laws. Part of that is bills being voted no on, part of that is bills being vetoed, but a lot of that is subcommittees or committees choosing to pigeonhole bills. What that is where they forget the bill exists and just kind of leave it, and if nobody brings it up again, they can just kind of leave it there, dead. But since not every bill is essential, trust your committees. The process by which a bill becomes a law. First, a bill is proposed, obviously.
After proposal, the bill gets sent to a committee, which then assigns it to a subcommittee,
where they'll discuss it, maybe hold hearings, and maybe mark it up. A marked up bill is one that's rewritten or changed, had stuff added to it, things like that. After a subcommittee marks up a bill, they send it to a committee. And if the committee approves the bill, it is sent to the Rules Committee of the House. The Rules Committee basically sets the schedule for when the entire House discusses bills that are proposed. And if after it's approved in the House, then it goes to the Senate. And if it's approved in both houses, it goes to the President, who either approves or vetoes it. The President has 10 days in which to act. The only exception to that is if a bill is sent to the President within 10 days of the congressional session ending, and he doesn't do anything about it. That's called a pocket veto. It just dies. Nothing. Alright, I very briefly mentioned the Rules Committee as setting the schedule for what bills get debated and discussed when. Another thing the Rules Committee does is set rules for debate. There's two categories or kinds of debate that the Rules Committee allows. A closed rule, it's like there's time limits on how long you can talk, basically. And you can't add amendments to the bill. So you only have a certain period of time to talk, and you really can't add anything to the bill, so it's closed off. An open rule is pretty much the opposite. You can propose amendments, and you can talk for just about as long as you like. Something I forgot to mention about the Senate is there's one practice in the Senate that is not seen in the House. It is called filibustering. What a filibuster is when you get up and talk and refuse to stop. And no one can interrupt you. You just keep going. And filibuster, it's used to talk bills to death, basically. The only way you can stop a filibuster is if 3/5 of the Senate votes for a cloture on, which basically is just end of a filibuster. This isn't very common because it's like an insult to put a cloture on someone's filibuster. Okay, so all the official work of Congress is done through the committees, as I showed you. But there's also an informal network of groups called caucuses, which is just basically groups of people who share the same views. It can be based off of regions, whether your district is more agricultural, rural, or urban, or it can be based off like the few female representatives would probably form together to join as a caucus. Basically, all they do is promote bills that support their interests and work together unofficially to pursue the goals of their group. Congress people, as you probably guessed, don't act alone. There's a huge support staff. More than 30,000 people work in paid bureaucratic positions. The average Senate office employs 30 staff members per senator. That is a lot of help, but these people work hard just for you.